The icy winds of March 1921 howled across the frozen fortress of Kronstadt. A bastion of the revolution, this island fortress near Petrograd held a special place in the hearts of Bolsheviks. Here the sailors of the Baltic Fleet had thrown their lot in with Lenin in 1917, their guns securing the Bolshevik seizure of power. They were hailed as heroes, the vanguard of the proletariat. But the heroes were about to become enemies. The Kronstadt sailors were not armchair revolutionaries. They had tasted victory alongside Trotsky and stormed the Winter Palace with their own hands. They had seen the Tsar fall and felt the promise of a brighter future. This was a future where workers held the reins of power, where exploitation was a relic of the past. A future they were now, tragically, forced to fight for again, against their own supposed comrades. By 1921, Russia was a land ravaged by war and revolution. The echoes of the First World War and the subsequent Civil War still hung heavy in the air. The Bolsheviks had triumphed, but at a terrible cost. The policy of war communism, a brutal necessity in the struggle against the whites, had bled the country dry. The cities starved, factories lay idle, and the peasants, the lifeblood of Russia, were pushed to the brink. Grain requisitioning, a euphemism for outright confiscation, had led to widespread famine and resentment. The very people the revolution had promised to liberate were now trapped in a nightmare. It was against this backdrop of suffering that the sailors of Kronstadt rose up. Their demands were not for themselves, but for all of Russia. They called for an end to grain requisitioning, for freedom of speech and assembly, for free and fair elections to the Soviets. They yearned for the original promise of the revolution, a socialism built on worker control and democratic principles. Their rebellion was not a counter-revolution, it was a desperate plea from the heart of the revolution itself. They saw their ideals, their sacrifices, being trampled underfoot by a new tyranny, one that spoke in the name of the proletariat but ruled through fear and oppression. Section 4. Betrayal and Bloodshed. The response from Lenin and Trotsky was swift and merciless. These men, once hailed as heroes by the sailors, now branded them as traitors and counter-revolutionaries in league with foreign powers. Trotsky himself, the architect of the Red Army, oversaw the brutal suppression of the rebellion. Thousands of Red Army troops, many of them raw recruits, were hurled against the island fortress. The sailors fought back with the courage and tenacity they had displayed in 1917, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. After days of fierce fighting, Kronstadt fell, the snow stained crimson with the blood of revolutionaries. Section 5. Silencing the Truth. The Kronstadt Rebellion was a profound shock to the Bolshevik regime. It exposed the growing chasm between the rulers and the ruled, the ideals of the revolution, and the brutal realities of its implementation. The regime, desperate to maintain its grip on power, sought to erase the memory of Kronstadt. The rebellion was dismissed as a counter-revolutionary plot, the sailors smeared as dupes and traitors. The truth, the inconvenient truth of workers rising up against a workers' state, was buried under a mountain of propaganda and lies. Section 6. The revolution devours its children. The legacy of Kronstadt is a tragic one. It stands as a stark reminder that revolutions, even those fought with the noblest of intentions, can devour their own children. It serves as a cautionary tale about the intoxicating allure of power and the dangers of ideological rigidity. The sailors of Kronstadt, in their final desperate stand, issued a warning to the world. Beware those who claim to speak in the name of the people, for power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Their sacrifice, though silenced, continues to resonate through history, a testament to the enduring human spirit and the timeless struggle for freedom. Thanks for watching History Untold. Subscribe for uprisings, betrayals, and the revolutions history tried to silence.